In 1967, at the height of his revolutionary career, Argentine Marxist, intellectual, and physician Ernesto Che Guevara said, "Latin America is an ideological dumping ground." Now, that might sound a bit offensive, but Che was not talking about the region's rich cultural heritage or its beautiful people or even its delicious food, rather its politics. You see, Latin America has long been considered a natural breeding ground for socialism. And since the mid-20th century, various leftist guerrilla movements have emerged in the region with the goal of transforming their countries into socialist utopias. And many of them credit Che Guevara as their inspiration. So in this video, we're going to take a look at 3 Latin American countries where Che Guevara's ghost still lives on. Before we get into it, a quick reminder to please subscribe to our channel and like this video if you enjoy learning about global politics. Okay, let's get into it. Number 3, Bolivia. There's probably no Latin American country with stronger ties to Che Guevara than Bolivia. You see, before he became a physician, Che studied in Buenos Aires, Argentina. But after dropping out of medical school, he traveled around South America. He worked as a doctor in various rural clinics in Peru and then moved to Bolivia, where he spent several months working in a hospital in the city of Santa Cruz. It was here that Che developed his revolutionary ideas, which he would later put into practice when he returned to Cuba in 1953. Fast forward to the late 1960s, and Che's influence can be seen in Bolivia through a group of revolutionaries known as the People's Revolutionary Army, or EPR. Led by Marxist theorist and writer Mario Monge, the EPR sought to overthrow the Bolivian government and replace it with a socialist state. Now, although Che Guevara had never been to Bolivia as an adult, Monge credited him as the main inspiration for the movement, and Che's face can be seen on several EPR posters and propaganda. However, the Bolivian military soon put down the revolt, killing Monge and ending the threat of a communist takeover in the country. But this wouldn't be the last time that Bolivians would attempt to follow in Che's footsteps. In the early 1970s, a group of radical students founded the Revolutionary Workers' Party, or POR in Spanish. This group was led by Juan Lechin Oquendo, who was also a medical doctor. Sound familiar? Well, like Che before him, Lechin became disillusioned with the traditional political parties in Bolivia and decided to take up arms against the government. In 1974, he and his fellow guerrillas launched an attack on a police station in the city of La Paz, stealing weapons and giving themselves the name the Armed Forces of National Liberation. But just like the EPR before them, the Bolivian military crushed the rebellion, killing many of the guerrillas, including Lechin. Although the revolution failed, both groups left an indelible mark on Bolivia's history and helped inspire future generations of leftists across the continent. But before we continue, we would really appreciate it if you could take a second to subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bell. It will really help us grow and keep producing these videos. Thanks for your support. Number 2, Nicaragua. Also in the late 1960s, a group of leftist students in Nicaragua founded the Marxist political party, the Sandinista National Liberation Front, or FSLN, in honor of the 19th century Nicaraguan national hero, Augusto Sandino. Inspired by figures like Che Guevara, the Sandinistas aimed to overthrow the Somoza family, a wealthy clan that had ruled Nicaragua since the 1930s. Now, despite being a small country, Nicaragua had actually been a major player in the region during the first half of the 20th century. Back then, it had one of the largest and most powerful militaries in Central America. But over the years, the Sandinista opposition had chipped away at the Somoza regime, eventually forcing the family into exile in 1979. A few months later, the FSLN, now led by Daniel Ortega, took control of Nicaragua and established a socialist republic. Now, while some of the Sandinistas' more radical ideas were tempered by the need to govern, nonetheless, the country was plunged into a decade of civil war between the FSLN and various conservative forces. Eventually, the fighting ended with the Sandinistas in power and Ortega as president. Since then, Ortega has maintained a strong grip on the country, and his government has been accused of human rights abuses and corruption. Still, Che's legacy lives on in the country through the many statues and murals dedicated to him, as well as the annual celebration of his birthday as a national holiday. Number 1. Venezuela. By the 1980s, Latin America had largely turned away from socialism. However, in Venezuela, Che's legacy lived on in the form of a charismatic young leader named Hugo Chavez. Like Che before him, Chavez was a military officer turned revolutionary, and in 1992 he attempted a coup against the government of Carlos Andrés Pérez. Although the attempt failed and Chavez was thrown in jail, he was eventually pardoned and elected president in 1998. From there, he wasted no time in remaking Venezuelan society in the image of a socialist utopia. He nationalized the country's oil industry and implemented a series of leftist policies aimed at reducing inequality. Of course, not everyone was happy with these changes, and in 2002, a group of disgruntled military officers attempted a coup against Chavez. Although the attempt failed, it did put Venezuela on a path towards greater instability and violence. Still, this didn't stop Chavez from continuing his socialist experiment until his death in 2013. After his passing, his hand-picked successor, Maduro, was elected president, and he too continued the implementation of socialist policies. Now, whether or not Venezuela can ever achieve the kind of socialist utopia envisioned by Che remains to be seen. But one thing is for sure, Che's legacy lives on in the country through its leaders, its people, and its politics. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to our channel and check out our other videos on global politics. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.